Kung Fu fighting. All right, it says we're live. My co-host just stepped off for a second, but welcome everyone. Uh, my name is Alfred. Her name's Carmen. The broadcast is better for today. As I said on Facebook, I hope you bought you a pen and a pad. This is going to be a pretty good show. This one is about defining grief, what it means to you individually. One of the things that we'll learn in this broadcast is a lot of ways that we've been taught to grieve, or ways that we've mimicked, or ways that's been given to us from people who've been tasked to be our guardians, parents, teachers, uncles and aunts. The way that they've groomed us to grieve is how we grieve, and it's important that we had a saying. I'm gonna write this in counseling. One of our sayings was, I'll write it right here: unlearn to relearn. That was one of our biggest sayings. Let's see if we're live. In counseling, it's important that we find a way to do that, unlearn to relearn, because if we don't, we'll grieve how we've been taught and not how we should process. The articles that I'll be using today is, well, one of the instruments I'll be using today is an ebook. The name of this ebook is the Grief. Well, the website. Let me show you the website first. Let me get back here. Let's get back here. The website will be flashing across the bottom of the screen. All broadcasts. I gotta find it. Here it is. This will be across the bottom of the screen all night. It's grievingrecoverymethod.com. I uncovered. I discovered this website many years ago. And so I just dug into my archive of whatever it is that I got. I don't call them notes. They just papers. I dug into those. And this here, I thought, was a really good. These two instruments I thought were really good. I'm trying to post one. Let's see if I can post it. I don't have a picture of the ebook. Let me see if I can. Hold on. Wait a minute. I can't save that. Can't save it. The name of the ebook is Myths About Grief: 6 Major Concerns That Prevent You from Moving Forward. And the article is the best grief definition you will find. Once again, if you look at the bottom, Carmen's here. Hey, Carmen. If you look at the bottom of our feed, hey, Rizzo, what's up? You'll see grievingrecoverymethod.com is the website that all of this information comes from. All of it. I'm thirsty. That's pretty good.
What is this on? Is it on Alfred Myers?
It's on my page, yeah. Grief is just something that I don't think we're taught. I just think it's something that we learn to do from watching other people do it. And it's extremely important that you learn how to learn how to grieve. It's extremely important that you learn the best way to grieve for you. You know,
Right. It's not a cookie cutter.
this
thing.
is not something that you can mimic. It is not something that let me say this. Each incident may require you to go back into your archive and revamp some things.
Yeah.
Because if you use your old method of grieving on a new loss, you may think that you're processing that thing, and you might be adding on to your old loss. If that makes sense. If you're on here, man, say hello. Rizza said hi. It says 3 viewers. I can't see you. Maybe my wife can. She's good like that.
Oh,
Hold on, I just saw something. Simon, hey, what's up, Si? Si is on here. So we're gonna dive right in. Once again, if you look at the bottom of our broadcast, you'll see the name of the website that this information comes off of. It's grievingrecoverymethod.com. It will be flashing across there all night. Let me take this down. But yeah, unlearning, relearn, like I said before, it's something we learned in counseling. You just got to stop doing whatever you've learned. It's time to unlearn it. All right. The article is the best grief definition you will find. Is that my phone or your phone?
Mine.
So here's a variety of definitions. Okay, one is grief is the normal and natural emotional reaction to loss or change of any kind. Of itself, grief is neither a pathological condition nor a personality disorder. All right, let me put that in the feed. And I'll, as we go through the show, you'll see me post these. So, you know, if you want to take time to write them, or I don't know, whatever, you know, these are just different definitions from this article that I told you about, defining grief. Actually, our show is defining grief, what it means to you individually, and these definitions are from the article, the best grief definitions you'll find. So that one says grief is the normal and natural emotional reaction to loss or change of any kind. Of itself, grief is neither a pathological condition nor a personality disorder.
Define pathological.
All right, let's look it up.
Pathological to me is a pathological liar is someone who lies all the time.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. So when you say pathological and using your definition,
yeah, that's
it's not something that you can learn from somebody.
Okay.
Let's look up the definition though, because I could be wrong. I'm always wrong.
There you go.
Well, actually, it's saying that it's something caused by a physical or mental disease. So I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a pathological disorder.
Liar is someone with a mental disorder.
They're saying it's a disease.
Wow.
They're saying it's a disease. Compulsive obsessive.
Ooh.
Pathological.
Okay.
So grief is neither of those. All right. The second definition it gives is grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of a change. Hold on, let me read that again. Grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern or behavior. So this one is really good. I like it because it points to the fact that, La, what up? Hey, what up, Marilyn? It points to the fact that it does not. I've been working this thing for months and I'm still learning how to do it. It's not necessarily a death, meaning physical. You know, grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior.
Okay.
It shifts. One of the big things that I've noticed is loss of a job. Loss of a job can spiral you in a way that nothing else will cause you to spiral. And I read something today that was so powerful. It said, your first name is what your job should change. Am I saying this right? Hold on, let me say this right. Oh, your first name should go on your paycheck. Your last name is what should be on your business. I think I'm saying it wrong. What it's saying is we get so engrossed in our job that you know we're taught we need to have a job, and we have forgotten the creativities that we have inside of us, killing our entrepreneurship. You know, I just need that regular check, and believe it or not, you can develop a form of grieving by not having someone nurture your creativity. That's down the line. Somebody gave me a heart. Thank you. John, hey, what's up, John? All right. So that's the second definition. Somebody's calling Carmen. She's very, very important.
Oh, I don't even know who that is.
Here's another one. It says, I'm going to post this image. If I could save it. Save. I'm getting good, La. Marilyn, we spend more time at, I'm going to post these. She says, hey, Daniqua, what's going on? Marilyn says, we spend more time at work than we do with our family. Some people put their whole well-being into their job. That is true. And it can create an avenue for grief.
So that when you lose that job,
you got so much invested in it.
Yeah. So are you telling me that I wasn't good enough?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You got so much invested in it that when they come and take the job away from you, all right. This was another one of the definitions. It says, grief is an emotional experience, and no matter how hard society tries to act, I can't see it, as if sad feelings don't exist, they do. That's a good hold on, let me get this out of the way. This out the way. Hold on, let me find where we're at. Get this out of the way. Get this out the way.
Out the way.
I'm trying. Should be good at this thing now. Okay, that's the second definition there, right? So we're taking that out. And this is the third one. It says grief is an emotional experience, and no matter how hard society tries to act as if sad feelings don't exist, they do. I want y'all to remember that. I want y'all to really, really remember that, because further on down the line, when we start discussing the book, I think it's 6 or 7 myths about grief. This is huge. This is really huge. All right, let me figure out how to get it out of here.
The book?
Yeah, I'm working. Okay, got it out of there. All right, so we went through 3. Let's see if they have any more. Okay, this is another one. Remember, this article is the best grief definitions. All right. We We're working. Banners. Here we go. Here's another definition of grief. Okay. This one says, grief is the feeling of reaching out for someone who's always been there, only to discover when I needed him or her or him one more time, she's no longer there. I guess that's a really, we got a comment, really good way. Dada, man, we miss you, man. I'm glad you're on. Yeah. Grief is the feeling of reaching out for someone who's always been there, only to discover when I need her or him one more time, she's no longer there. All right. Once again, on the bottom is the website that this information has come off of. It's called grievingrecoverymethod.com. The article is the best grief definitions you will find. I'm not going into the meat of none of it. I'm just pulling up the definitions. And then here's the flip side of the one that we just read. What up, TG? Here's another one. And it says, grief is the feeling of reaching out for someone who has never been there for me, only to discover when I need time, they still aren't there for me. All right. I think a lot of guilt came under that. Like you reach out to somebody, they weren't there. You reach out to them, they still ain't there. So they pass away. And now because you probably relinquished back and not reached out to this person, there's maybe a feeling of grief that overcomes you. Go ahead, Conj. Your face looks like you got to say something.
If it's somebody who, I don't know how to.
Once again, let me put a disclaimer. These are an article that I discovered. I mean, this information is from articles I discovered a long time ago. This is not from me. I'm giving my opinion of it as I'm reading it. So if there is something that you may not understand, you can go on this website and you can actually ask these people questions.
Oh, really?
These are some of the things that they have on this website. Let me show you how this. This is an explosive website. They have an emotional healing course where they give you a certificate.
Oh, really?
If you do a 60-day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They have. I was telling you guys about. Let me move this out. Okay. This is the book that we're going to be talking about later. It's called The Myth of Grief. It's powerful. If you ain't doing nothing this evening, please stay and wait for us to discuss this book here. It's powerful. And then you have the grief. This is all on this website. Grief is a journey that you're going to have to be intentional about. You got to be intentional about, because if you're not intentional about it, you're going to grieve as you've been taught how to grieve. Here's something else. This is a blog they have. It's called the Grief Recovery Method. That is actually the website, and there's a blog. You go on this website and you can join this blog. Man, if you are grieving, go get help, man. Go get help, because it will tear you apart. It will tear you apart, and you will learn to function in it.
Yeah. And
you won't even know, hey, Keish, that you're doing it, because the people that you're around are grieving as well. So we've masked it. We've masked it with distractions. And once again, when we get into this book later, you're gonna go, wow. Because when I reread my notes, I was like, man, I forgot all about that. All right. Any more definitions here?
Well, what's your definition?
My definition of grief is the feeling of sadness and I'm equating this to death.
Okay. The
feeling of sadness I got knowing I'll never be able to speak to that person again, and they respond. I can speak to them, whenever I want to,
Right.
but I'm not getting a response.
Right.
And that for me, and I'm gonna talk about my son,
Mm-hmm.
is a whole.
Yeah.
Is a whole. Don't ever let somebody tell you get over grief. Get away from them. I'm being dead serious. Get away from them. You can better manage grief. There's no such thing getting over it. It is part of you now. It is something that you're going to have to deal with the rest of your life. All right. Here's another definition. It says, grief is the feeling of reaching out for someone who hasn't been there for me at one time. We did that. No, this is different. It says, grief is the feeling of reaching out for someone who had been there for me at one time, only to discover that I can't go to them for help or comfort anymore.
That they were your support, and they're no longer there.
You're missing. It's like you're missing. It's the. I guess almost like somebody took my comfort zone from me.
Right.
My comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see what else they have here. So that was, I don't know how many. This is powerful. And this is the last definition that they give. And this is something that if you have a pen, that's not what I want to put there. I would write this down. It says, everyone grieves in their own way and at their own pace. That is the gospel right there.
Yeah.
That is the gospel, especially if you're married and there's a monumental death that affects both of you. I'm not saying that I can't console her, but until she tells me how that is, I'm going to console her the way I think she should be consoled. That could cause division.
True.
That can cause division.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, I don't like walking around on pins and needles. You may have to until there's a discussion on what it is that person needs. And if that person decides to change up, I'm talking the same day, you're going to have to be able to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit there and go, man, I did this. That's just not what this journey is about anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, that person at that particular moment might need that. You don't have the luxury to tell them what they need. You don't. It has caused a lot of divorce because what we thought our spouse needed, they didn't want. And now we're pissed off over the fact that they didn't want what you had. That's not what this thing is about. This thing is about you being in a position of readiness, I guess, to be able to go, okay.
Right.
You know, be it distance, be it, I don't know, whatever happens, because this is something that we've never been taught. Let me change that. Grief is something that we've never experienced. It's something that we've been taught. Okay. Does that make sense?
Meaning we've experienced it, but we mimic other behaviors that we see.
Grief is something that we've been taught to experience like other people. Right. Maybe that's a better way of saying it, like you just said.
You know, because somebody dies and then everybody wants to give their condolences and want to say, is it, you know, ask you, is there something I could do for you? And when you're in the midst of that, that's not what you really want to hear.
All right. Here's a book that I would advise everybody to go get. It is called It Didn't Start With You. If you got $15 in your Amazon account, buy this book and read it. If you don't have time to read it, put it on something that you can listen to it, because 95% of the stuff that we do, we do it because it was passed down to us.
Right.
And you can't get mad at your parents. You can't get mad, you know. Hey, Miss Nancy, you can't get mad at nobody because they gave you what they had.
Right.
Be appreciative that they gave it to you. Now that you know that, I'm not gonna say something's wrong with it, but it's not for you. Do something about it.
Right.
Do something about it. Don't get mad and I don't. Yeah, well, you got to understand some of the suppression that our parents grew up underneath.
Mm-hmm.
They grew up under some craziness, man, some craziness, and so I strongly believe, you know, my mom, who's not here anymore, she did for me what she thought was best for me. You know, based off her experiences.
Right.
You know,
she gave you what she had.
One of the biggest problems, I'm gonna call it a problem, is our gauge systems. We look across the hallway and Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so seem to be so nice, and we use them as our gauge to gauge our parents. Until, well, I can't say until, but if you lived in that household, you'd probably see that it
wasn't that rosy.
I won't say just as bad, but it's not as good as you thought it was.
Right.
It's not as good as you thought it was.
Correct.
Why? Because they're human.
Yes.
They're human. Human people say, oh, man, listen, humanity is messy. It's messy. Why? Because if you think you've got the surefire way on how to do this thing, all you can do is walk out the door. You know, one of the biggest keys that I've learned since I've been allowed to be this old is versatility. It's versatility. What La say? La said, I damn sure gauge minds watching Mr. and Mrs. King. That's a good example, La. Any thank you, Sherry. Oh, anybody who lived in an environment like we lived in, and I'm not saying it was a bad environment, but it was a crammed environment. We got to see what we thought was great, and we got to see what we thought was bad. Right. You know what I'm saying? Based off how we were taught how to see things. You know what I'm saying? That same concept that I'm talking about is how we were taught how to grieve. Same concept. So let's dive into this book. This is a really, I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it goes. Okay. It's called Myths About Grief, 6 Major Concepts That Prevent You from Moving Forward. If you want to follow along, you can hit this website at the bottom, grievingrecoverymethod.com, and download this. It's an ebook. It's free. They're not asking for no money. They just want you to get better. I believe that. I mean, it's one of the few websites that I've ever been on that didn't ask for a dime. Even the course, the certification, the 6-day certification course, they don't ask for a dime for that. Wow. They don't ask for a dime for that. I didn't complete it. I think I did 40 days.
How do you go 40 days and it just quit?
I always blame my schedule. I everything that I do, and I'm getting better with this week, you know, for those of you who don't know this, on your phone, there's an app that'll tell you how many hours you're on certain things. I'm talking Facebook, TikTok, whatever. It'll tell you. So this week, I mean, I think I've been on social media probably about 2 or 3 hours at the most, maybe 4, compared to 30, 40 hours a week I'm on social media. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need to do something more with that time. Because if I don't do something more with that time, I'm going to use it as my excuse. Oh, you know, my schedule is this. Yeah, but when I come home from work, I'm sitting on the daggone couch scrolling. I'm sitting on the couch scrolling. When I can take that time and use it more beneficial. So that's just me. Once again, if you go to this website, grievingrecoverymethod.com, you can download this book called Myths About Grief. Let's dive in. I'm going to read a lot of this so that I don't miss a lot. But I'm going to tell you, man, remember we talked about this book. I'm trying to keep up with the comments and all that. You know, when you're in the background doing this is easy. This book, I'm telling, get this book. If you have not heard anything tonight, get this book. Because when you get this book, and once you say, if one person comes on and says, I finished it, then I'm going to tell you to go and get this book. The body keeps the score. My wife is tired, so she's yawning. I'm going to hurry up. But this one is key in the grieving process. All right? So, the chapters in this ebook are Don't Feel Bad, Replace the Loss, Grieve Alone, Time Heals All Wounds, Be Strong for Others, Keep Busy. That one was huge for me. Keep it busy. So let's start with Don't Feel Bad. Okay. They said more than 30 years ago in a speech, John W. James, who's the founder of the Grief Recovery Institute, said grief is the most off-limits topic for conversation in the English-speaking Western world.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about it.
No,
We just do it.
right. We don't talk about a lot of stuff.
We just don't talk about it. It talks about the 6 myths that I mentioned earlier. Don't feel bad, replace the loss, grieve alone. Grief just takes time. Be strong and be strong for others. So the chapters I read are different than this. These are good. I'm going to post these in the, if I can. I can't copy and paste. If I get out of this, I might be able to do it. How do I do that? Let's get out of that, Combs. Let's come here. Can I? Nope. Maybe you can type it in there. I don't know. It's not letting me copy and paste. But here are the myths. They are don't feel bad, replace the loss, grieve alone, grief just takes time, be strong and be strong for others, keep busy. Now I need to go back and check the comments because I'm trying to do it. Everyone, Miss Nancy says everyone's grief is different. La says, soon as my check come, I'm killing my procrastination in ordering that book. But I wish I could copy and paste these things. It's not allowing me to. Let's see. But I should be able to copy and paste this, Combs. Why can't I? And we ain't really got time to do select. Nope, that ain't it.
Well, that would be it if you had.
Got out of there. If I what?
So now start from your left.
Start from my left.
And then highlight and drag down.
And now do what? That says trash.
Okay, well, hit right click.
Right click. Nothing.
Okay.
Let's see. No, we ain't trying to get rid of that. All right, so that's the 6. Don't feel bad. Replace the loss. Grieve alone. Grief just takes time. Be strong and be strong for others. Keep busy. I got to keep going back. Checking the comments.
I like a lot.
Yeah.
He's the last one to say that.
That was the last one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So now, this is good, man. This is good. When I went back and reread this, it was crazy. All right. This is the first one. Don't feel bad. It says, don't feel bad suggests that feeling bad or sad is not an appropriate reaction to a heartbreaking loss. By the time, so it talks about hold on, I'm missing some stuff here. Missing some small highlighted stuff. All right, let me go back. I wish I could copy it. I'm gonna write this stuff in the chat.
I just said I would.
Okay, so why aren't you? Why haven't you done it?
What am I writing?
All right, so the first one, what's the lie I got here? Says, as soon as my check comes, then he says, I killed Muhammad. You got, it didn't start with you, book. All right. So the first one comes is don't feel bad. Second one is replace the loss.
Replace the loss.
Replace the loss. Third one is grieve alone. Grieve alone.
Replace the loss. I don't know what that is. Replace the loss.
You killing me.
Because I'm hitting something and it's pulling something else up. Okay.
Grieve alone. Grief just takes time. Don't worry about it. All right. Nancy Townsend says, this is Miss Nancy from our ministry. She is really, really, we really treasure Miss Nancy. So we value her opinion. She says, there is no time limit on grief. Some people grieve for years. It's hard to tell someone how they should grieve or how long they should be grieving the loss of a loved one. I know people who lose a pet and it's just like they lost a family member. So grief is one of those things that is different for each and every one of us. There's no time limit and you can't tell someone how they should grieve. It's a process that's different from everyone. That is correct, Miss Nancy. Very correct. So Carmen has one of them, don't feel bad. She has the other one, replace the loss, grieve. Alone, grief takes, she put them all together. Grief takes time.
I can't see.
That's fine, don't worry about it. Okay. So let me go back and read this stat right here. Where are you? I don't know where you went.
Reading there, then.
Okay. These 6 myths about grief says they limit us in our ability. Why can't I copy and paste this?
Why can't you just read it?
If it's annoying you?
Oh, I can read, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
It's because this is what I prefer to do.
Okay.
It says the 6 myths about grief. Answer a question. Should a child be forced to get a job at 19 years old? Oh, that's something else. That limit us in our ability to deal with the inevitable losses that affect our lives. The 6 myths about grief limit us in our ability to deal with the inevitable losses that affect our lives. These are just some of the things I highlighted from the article. It says they keep us from recovery or completion of what was left emotionally unfinished for us when someone important to us dies, or when we get divorced, or when we're impacted by any of the 40 other life events that can produce feelings of grief. And then we gave you the myths. Don't feel bad. Replace the laws. Grieve alone. Grief just takes time. Be strong and be strong for others. Keep busy. All right. We start off with the first one. Don't feel bad. That suggests that feeling bad or sad is not an appropriate action to a heartbreaking loss. So it gives what is the scenario? This is the scenario of a little child. And this is where it starts. This is a book that they have on this website called the Grief Recovery Handbook. Once again, if y'all, this is the website that's flashing on the bottom, grievingrecoverymethod.com. All right. It says a little child, ouch, has come home from preschool with their feelings hurt by events and with, hold on, I can't see. A little child has come home from preschool with their feelings hurt by events with the other children on the playground. Mom, dad, grandma, and any other caretaker, I'm going to say that again. Mom, dad, grandma, and any other caretaker says, what happened? The child responds tearfully that one of the kids was mean to her. The caretaker says, don't cry. Here, have a cookie. You'll feel better. Thus setting the child up with a lifetime belief from an important authoritative force that feelings can be fixed with food. All right, let's go back to the book. It didn't start with you. Let's go back to what I just said. Authoritative figure, someone who has been tasked with helping groom you become, I don't know, I guess adult or whatever you want to say it. They've given you a way to process. Early on in the broadcast, I put up a banner that said, unlearn to relearn. These are all important steps. That's why I said I hope you have a pen and a piece of paper to write this stuff down. Man, I'm telling you, it's important. I say this, I don't know, to everybody who will even listen to me. Journal. You have got to write your story. You cannot keep relying on somebody else to have your story. You have to write your story. That way, when you write your story, you have your own gauge. You don't have to look around out the window, or you don't have to do that. You just need to look in your notes, and your notes will be your gauge. All right. So back to this young child. Remember, they said, here's a cookie, right? Okay. It says, upon eating the cookie, I keep moving this and can't keep forgetting that Carmen's is in the video. Upon eating the cookie, the child feels different, not better, and for the moment is distracted and forgets about the incident on the playground. However, there has been no completion of the emotional pain caused by the event. I'm going to bring up my daughter now. The way that she allows her sons, our grandkids, to express how they feel is amazing. He's 8.
Yes.
Avery's 8 and Mason's 5. And they can literally articulate what it is that went wrong. And she takes the time to process that thing with them. This is huge, people. Huge. Let's stop doing what was done to us.
Right.
We have to stop doing it. And the reason that we're doing it is because it's become our normal. It's become what we've done, what we do. And we don't understand how damaging it was to us. It was extremely damaging. We're going to go back to the article now. Once again, she's upon eating the cookie, the child was just, she felt different, but did not feel what her feelings wasn't, they didn't allow her to process what had happened. You got to remember, this becomes, as it says here, where is it at? I got so many things highlighted here. It said it becomes a lifetime belief. You hear that?
Right. So that's how the people.
This is the way I process
disorders. That's right.
And I develop a disorder.
Right, because it's my comfort.
Because I've been told this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right. When I don't feel right, eat.
It says, as human beings, we are equipped with the capacity to feel and express all emotions, happy and sad and everything in between. But if our earliest learning tells us not to feel bad, and if that teaching comes from parents, teachers, and other adult authority figures, then we have almost no choice than to believe our elders and try to repress or bury our naturally occurring sad or painful feelings. It's what's been handed to us. It's what's been handed. It did not start with you. All right, moving on. Says another essential point to that is that we would not be able to perceive or feel our happiness if we cannot perceive and feel our sadness. If I don't know how to feel my sadness, then I really don't know how to feel my happiness. I don't know about that. That's interesting. It says another essential point is that we would not be able to perceive or feel our happiness if we not can perceive and feel our sadness. Can you really be happy if you don't know how to really be sad?
Yeah.
You can.
I can be happy.
can you be happy to the extent that you should be?
On who's perceiving, who's
Once
gauging this?
There we go. That's a good way of saying
Yeah,
it.
who's gauging?
What gauge are we using?
Yeah, how happy I should be.
Yeah.
Who
has a right to gauge that?
What my reaction's supposed to be.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's why it's important to journal.
Right.
It's very important to journal so that you have your own gauge.
Right.
All right. We must accept and honor both ends of that spectrum and not rob our children of their normal and natural reactions to the feelings they experience when either happy or sad things happen to them or to the people they love. When we rob our children of the freedom to feel and express their entire range of emotions, they carry that incorrect idea into the rest of their lives. We believe that a host of problems, I like how it says that, since we believe, those are the people who wrote this article.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that a host of problems in all the areas are connected to the inability to access and appropriately communicate our feelings in the moment we have them. I can really attribute this to boys.
Wow.
Young boys. We are not taught how to be sad or vulnerable or don't cry.
Right.
It is terrible for little boys.
Trained how to process your emotions.
Crying is considered soft for a little boy.
Right.
And it is one of the worst things we could teach our young men.
Right.
I'm not saying cry all the time, but you need to allow, because you end up into a whiny, dude. Yeah, they should have did something to you. But crying is not a bad thing, and we should, as the article stated, we should allow them to express their whole range.
Yeah.
But what's happening is we have not been taught. And so how can I sit and help my son when nobody has ever taught me? Internet.
Well, what do you mean the internet?
You on the internet anyway, 1,000 hours, look up meaningful articles.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
Watch meaningful videos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Watch stuff that's helpful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you don't think, Ms. Nancy is on the roll at night, if you don't think that there's anything wrong with your parenting skills, you won't change it.
Right.
You won't change it because, say for instance, okay, you have a son and your dad is still alive and your dad's in your life. When something of that nature may happen and you don't say nothing, he may mimic exactly what you're used to saying to that boy. Don't cry. We don't cry around here.
I never told him that.
You're not a man.
Yeah.
You're not, Ms. Nancy says, if you can identify what made you unhappy, you're able to process what it takes to solve the issue. And by solving the issue that made you unhappy will give you the understanding of what it took to make you happy when you realize what it is that made you so unhappy. We have to learn to process our thoughts instead of reacting without thinking. I always process something before I react, especially if it's something that has upset me. So then when I approach the situation, I can, okay, Miss Nancy, you died off. I guess
I can approach.
It was more though. Should be more there because the thought just, But that's. I'm gonna go back to that. That's correct.
Oh, it says, "It's such a way I can approach it without having being all up in my feelings. It's very important to process your thoughts before speaking."
That's correct, but that's something that has to be taught. It has to be taught, and once again, if our parents didn't teach it to us, and now we're being made aware of this. We're being made aware of that, and I want to say this before we go any further. This doesn't mean something's wrong.
Okay.
Don't ever think it means something's wrong. This is 100% environmental. You are a product of your environment. Your mom and dad, if you had both of them in the household, I just had my mom, gave you what they had.
Right.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to be mad, upset. Nothing. They gave you what they had. Now that some of you ain't my age, but now that we're at a certain age where we're responsible for our own behaviors, it's up to us to do something about it. Dennis is it. What up, D? Yes, as I get older, I realize, it's up to us to do something about it. We cannot sit back any longer and act like it's somebody else's fault.
Right.
Man, if it wasn't for so-and-so, stop.
Yeah.
That's over. That is over. It's time for us to be responsible for ourselves. But once again, we are a product of our, yes, right. Once again, I'm going to keep flashing this. Get the book. Get the book. It brings so much clarity to how you act and some of the things you do. All right, back to the magazine. Okay, this is good. This is Replace the Loss. So Miss Nancy hit on this. This is talking about the loss of a pet. When you lose a pet, and I don't know, I didn't do this with the kids because the way we lost the pets was crazy. But when you lose a pet, instead of them talking to you about how you felt when you lost the pet, they replaced the pet. So, okay, you lose let's say you lose a dog, so they get you another dog.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, they never talk about
right
how you felt when you lost that pet. Now, let me put some of these. What up, Tiz? Dennis says, I want to keep these comments going. Like I said, when you're in the background, it's easy to do this. We are born looking like our parents. We die looking like our choices. That's pretty good, D. Because you do look like your dad. So Miss Nancy hit on us about the pet. She talked about that she's seen some people who have lost pets, and it's almost like losing a family member. And it is a family member.
It is.
It really is. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, as adults, we don't think that the way that we're processing that thing is the way the kid is processing it as well.
Yeah, you need to have a conversation with them in regards to it, not just give them another, because then you create another habit.
I'm glad you said that.
Because if I'm just replacing something that we replaced the goldfish, we replaced the dog, then they thinking, oh, well, if I break this, we're going to replace it. If I lose that, they're going to replace it.
So that's a good thought, Cons. I don't know what you're saying. Tiz, shut it is. Okay. All right.
What
it is? Oh. So they give them a new dog, replace the loss. Okay. Rather than soothe or comfort the child in their grief, the combination of don't feel bad, first myth, and replace the loss acts to confuse the child and makes them feel that being sad or feeling bad is not acceptable or appropriate. I disagree with that a little bit. Worse, he's led to believe that if he can just forget about the pet who died and throw himself into a new relationship with a replacement pet, everything will be okay. We're going to stop right there. Let me say that again. He's led to believe that if he throws himself into a new relationship with a replacement pet, everything will be okay. All right, I'm going to fast forward. It says the problem then gets confirmed and compounded along the way towards adulthood. When a youngster has his or her first romantic ending, they think that replacing it is the answer.
Right.
It becomes the mode of operation.
Right.
And we sit back and we use terms like they got baggage. They got, you know what I'm saying? When you get into another relationship, you bring the baggage with you. They got baggage from being kids.
Right.
4 or 5 years old, being taught a certain way on how to process loss. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're journaling, you'll realize that most of the things that upset you or is contributing is loss.
Mm-hmm. Your friend says, will one have the same love?
Will one have the same love for a
human as an animal?
Tis. Sometimes the love is more for the animal than it is for the human. And the reason that is because an animal provides the human with unconditional love. Another human can't do that. People can say, oh, I love you unconditionally. Say the wrong thing. Condition.
That's not true.
Come on. What?
I love you unconditionally.
If a condition pops up, it doesn't, I don't say that you don't love me, but for that moment.
Oh, I can be mad. That change how I feel about you.
That anger will replace the love at that moment. Unconditional love says, okay, I'm angry.
That's a natural.
But I'm not going to sin. Oh, on the inside, you be cursing, Combs. You be cursing on the inside, Combs. Let's be real. You be cursing on the inside. You're sinning. But yeah, it is. That's the reason why a lot of people love pets, because she won't kill you. Love pets is because it's a level of unconditional love that another human.
Yeah.
Let me change my statement. Most humans are incapable of doing it.
But I have to agree with you. Yeah.
And if
an animal will give that to you.
That's because that's how they're. Animals are on purpose.
Yeah.
They're on. The people say animals. They have emotions. Don't get it twisted. But they're on purpose. Mm-hmm. My assignment is to be your dog. I don't care if you beat me half to death the day before. Mm-hmm. That next day, I'm going to be in your face, wagging my tail, because that's what God made me to do. Mm-hmm. He gave us opinions. And we're getting off subject. But yeah, once again, okay, let's go back to the article. All right. So this is replace the loss. All right. This is by the time most children are 5 or 6 years old, they've already been introduced to the dangerous combination of don't feel bad and replace the loss when dealing with their grief. All right. This is a crazy stat. I read this to my wife earlier. It says first marriage divorce rate is around 50%. Second marriage divorce rate, where's my stats at? Is around 67%. Third marriage divorce rate is at 73%. This statistic alone proves the replace the loss theory does not work. Keep replacing it.
Right.
You keep replacing it, and you keep replacing it, and you keep replacing it till it says that's natural for them to do. Why doesn't humans provide that? I just told you, Tiz. We've been given opinion. We have the power to make choices. Mm-hmm. And I think animals, I'm not gonna say they don't have that power, but I think they're just taught to love whoever it is that's a steward over them.
Right.
Unconditionally. Mm-hmm. Miss Nancy, okay, your comments are, I can't see all of them.
Okay.
They're dying. Okay, I'm going to start and you end.
Okay.
It says, my Mr. Pepper, my Shih Tzu, loves me unconditionally. It's a different kind of love because he depends on me for everything in relationships. I can't see nothing. We tell us, go ahead.
We tell ourselves we don't need each other. So as soon as something happens, it's easy for that unconditional love to go
Sideways.
Okay, I'm lost.
Stop right there. Stop right there.
Uh-huh.
Miss Nancy, if it's unconditional love, it can't go sideways.
Well, maybe I missed something.
Okay, let me read it. It says, you could follow. I'm following me. You could finish it off for me. Okay, to go south. It doesn't mean that you don't still love the person. It just means the unconditional love. You might think twice about it at the moment. But with my Mr. Pepper, even if he has an accident in the house and I get after him, he looks at. You'll stop there too, right? He looks
at me with them big bubble eyes. Oh, wait a minute, somebody else. Okay, bubble eyes. And I know he still loves me, even though I'm scolding him. The love of a pet is totally different than a love of a human being, is all I'm trying to say.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Then it says, you got that right. We are programmed by our parents, and when we get older, we still have our problems teaching, which is generational. So if you were taught wrong, you will live in wrong. It's not wrong to be wrong. It's just wrong to stay wrong.
Well, not necessarily.
Here's the deal. And this is an answer to Tiz's question. Patient eyes is how this is the answer. Why are we not like that? Because animals are, humans are taught. Animals just are.
Okay.
A dog is a dog.
Right.
A dog is a dog.
Mm-hmm.
That dog's parents could have been something wrong with them, but that dog will learn to love you regardless.
Mm.
We love how we've seen love done.
Mm.
That's how we love. Like, I believe the way that your mom loved your dad is why you're still with me, because of her unconditional love for him. She loves him regardless.
Right, and that's what I saw.
Yeah, and that's what you saw.
I mimicked.
So that goes back to what we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It did not start with you.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, Gilkeisha. So are animals taught? I just think, Tiz, there's something instinctively inside of them that causes them to be different than us. And I think God arranged it that way. Because can you imagine if animals had the power to think? Can you imagine 1 million rats?
No.
Deciding,
no,
we're gonna take over the project.
Mm-mm.
You know what's scary, and I'm getting off subject here, is the arrangement of things is slowly going away. Like we went to New York. I don't know how long ago it was. And the squirrels was walking over our feet.
Oh, they were like right next to us. Yes.
You know, there used to be a distance, almost like a fear. I wouldn't say a fear. Well, you could say a fear.
Yeah.
But maybe it was some sort of respect they have for humans that is like so slowly dissipating.
They have become desensitized.
How? How did they? What happened?
They became part of the projects.
So
they're walking around like zombies, and they're just. What I'm saying is,
I think they were eating some of the crack that fell. It was eating. People was dropping crack. Like, squirrels and the birds was eating it.
No, I think that they've just gotten acclimated to humans being around. I mean, we're always around. That they're no longer afraid of us being around.
I'm just it's scary the way this, I've seen videos of rats on the train just scrolling on people.
Yeah, no.
People sleeping and that, when I was young, I never, you would stomp your feet.
And they go running away. No, he running to you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's doing that to you.
That's true, Tiz. As we're getting more and more advanced technology-wise, the art of communication is leaving, man. is leaving. D says you have more people feeding animals. Yeah, okay, we're gonna get back to the article. All right. Now remember this book. For those of you who are just coming on,
I need heat.
this book. This is the book. Get the book. I'm trying to tell you, get the book. It will, if you have young children, it will help you train them differently. Because you should be, if you're journaling, you should be able to see how much you're mimicking your parents. And I'm gonna keep saying this. It's not a bad thing.
Even if you're not journaling, if you take some time to just sit and reflect on yourself.
I don't disagree with you.
I think that people need to take more time to look at where you were, where you are now, how you process things.
So here's me, and this is just my experience. I don't disagree with you at all. But if I don't journal, then I'll use other people as a target. As a target.
What do you mean?
Okay. As long as I'm journaling, I'm the target. I have a written story of what it is that I need to go back and, like you said, reflect on. You know, one of the biggest things for me is on this paper, I'm not distracted. I am 100% focused because I'm reading. When you will, and I'm not saying that this is for everybody, but when you allow yourself to think that you can do everything mentally, we have gotten so acclimated on social media that we have become major skilled at distractions. And you just want to try to, what up, Jay Money? You just want to try to eliminate that. That's just me. What works for her works for her. I can't say my method is going to work for her. Right. This is what we're saying about grief. We have been handed grief. Our parents have said, here's how you grieve. This is what you do. And now we're in our 50s and 60s, and we're still using outdated methods on how we grieve. And then you add in the myths about grief. We mentioned them earlier. They're in here somewhere. And then these myths become our reality on how we should grieve. And for some reason, as humans, we'd rather believe the negative more than the positive. Like some people, how can I say it? They just don't have it in them to think that things will work. You know, you got to believe that when you're really, really grieving, that there's something that's going to help you not get out of it, but better manage it. Right. I tell people all the time, if you don't believe in a higher power, son, some of the stuff I'm saying, you might as well just throw it out the door. Because at some point in this journey, something greater than a human has to come along and help you. Yeah. Now, reading books and, but man, it ain't nothing like Holy Spirit coming and hugging you and going, man, it's going to be okay. Yeah. Sometimes it don't help. I'm talking about me. I'd be like, yo, get off me. Because you laughing.
You told Holy Spirit
get off me.
Get off me.
Some people talk to God they talk to God. I'm telling you, yo, get off me. I want to be sad right now. I want to be mad right now. And he'd be like,
shoulder thing. You like,
yeah, he'd be all right. I'm gonna be here when you finish going through your thing. I'm gonna be here. Yeah. And that's the most amazing thing about the Most High. He's always there with open arms. Yeah. As long as you're breathing, he has open arms. So I would advise you, I would advise you to find something more than another human to believe in. Okay. Then it says, being wrong is a habit that needs to be broken. Whatever the problem, we just need to bathe it. That's it, D. That's it. And once again, I want to continually say this as a disclaimer. What our parents did wasn't 100% wrong because we're 60, we still here. But it was just a misguided way of teaching us how to deal with things because they were given a misguided way. You got to understand in the era they grew up in, dude, it was a suppression in the household that was unbelievable. You know what I mean? All right, back to the book. Okay, for those of you who just came on and don't know what book we're reading, if you look at the bottom, the bottom of our webpage of our live, that is the website that this information is coming off of, and the name of this book that we're going through is called Myths About Grief: 6 Major Concepts That Prevent You from Moving Forward. This is an ebook. If you go onto that website, they'll allow you to download this ebook. And I'm gonna tell you, man, here are these are just some disclaimers. I'm going back on disclaimers. That was stupid. Some of the things they have on their website that can help you. This here is a 60-day emotion course. After you finish this course, they'll give you a certification, a certificate. Once again, this stuff is free. This stuff is free. Most of this stuff in regards to healing, if it ain't got nothing to do with a psychiatrist on it, is free. All right, here's another one. This is the book. This is what we're talking about tonight, Myths About Grief. This is the grief handbook that they have on there. And I'm going through these kind of fast because our time is moving. And then this is a blog that they have on there. All this stuff is on this website. At the bottom of the page, Miss Nancy has wrote another dissertation. She just asked for me when I lost my little nephew after drowning incident, and he lived for 15 months. Because of my faith, I knew that he don't transition over to the other side. And I do believe that death is the beginning and not the end. And that helps me in the grieving process. Yes, I miss the person. Yes, I do grieve, but I do believe it's not the end, but only the beginning, especially when you transition and you know who your Lord and Savior is. That is correct, Miss Nancy. And what I want to say is to all of us, none of us makes it out of this alive. Not one of us.
No.
Not one of us.
There's no escaping.
Death is just as much a part of life.
It's a process. We
as
all
life
have to
is.
go through.
It's just when it happens to us. Let me talk about me. I thought I was cheated. I thought that based off how I was living and what I had, I changed my life around, all that. I didn't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? So my stage was unbelief. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe it happened. And then I started to think of the people who could have replaced my son in his death, like a crackhead or somebody shoot heroin and all this and all that. And so a pastor friend of mine took me to a scripture in 1 Thessalonians where it talks about this great cloud of witnesses. And he explained to me that this cloud of witnesses are a group of people who are cheering us on in our day-to-day activities. People who have addictions are not capable of being in this cloud. So we say things like, oh, that was a good person. Why did they take that good person? If you think of this thing theoretically based off that scripture, those good people are needed to cheer us on. It helped me a lot at that particular time. And then I sat in my office one day, because I had barricaded myself in my office numerous days. And I remember Holy Spirit coming in there. And I mean, it was as if he was sitting beside me. And he said to me, okay, I'll take this away from you if you tell me who you think deserves this. And I was like, okay, that's the end of this. Because you could be my worst enemy. And I wouldn't wish this on nobody. I wouldn't wish that anybody near or dear to you died if that was a way of getting revenge, and I look back at a lot of stuff we did as kids. And I mean, the level of remorse that I go through at times that I don't even share with my wife, but it paralyzes me that I was the reason for some of the stuff that happened. And, when you're a kid, you don't care about it. You out there, you got that thing in your waist and, it's about, survival of the fittest. But when you get my age, or when you are allowed to get my age and have a clear mind and understand some of the things that you've done, man, thank God for a high power.
Yeah.
Thank God for a high power who tells me you're forgiven. Now I have to work on forgiving myself. Then it says, yes, Al, you share that with me, and I share that with a lot of people. Yeah, it's something. And the craziest thing about that, D, is if I'm not careful, this remorse I feel will spiral me into a level of grief that I can't change. So I have to be really, really careful, because now I'm grieving for some of the stuff that I've done that God said, hey, I forgive you for. And you got to be careful. You know what I mean? Because it'll spiral you. All right, let's go through one more, and then we're going to shut it down. She's already shut it down. And we'll come back to this next week. The third thing, hold on. So we talked about the marriage and all this. We talked about how kids, because of what they've been taught with the replacing, and this it affects them into their adult life. I showed y'all the book. It didn't start with us. As we're going through all this, it all connects. It all connects. It says that all relationships are unique. There are no exceptions. You cannot replace a relationship. You must grieve and complete your relationships to the person who died, or to the marriage or romance that ended. Until and unless you do that, you're doomed to drag the past into your present and thereby sabotage your future. Let's see if I can. Still can. Let's see, Carlos. Hold on a second. Let's see. Let me see. I think I'm going to be able to do it. Nope, same thing. I was trying to copy and paste. Yeah, I'm going to read it again. All relationships are unique. There are no exceptions. You cannot replace a relationship. You must grieve and complete your relationships to the person who died, or to the marriage or romance that ended. Until and unless you do that, you're doomed to drag the past into your present and thereby sabotage your future. 5 stages to be continued. The magazine, once again, the website has been scrolling on the bottom of this feed all night. GrievingRecoveryMethod.com. This book is an ebook. The book is called, I'm gonna put it on the screen, and I'm gonna leave it up there for a minute. All right. This is the ebook. It is called, that it? That's it. You can download this ebook. It's free. I think all you got to do is give them your email address. If you ain't doing nothing, go download it now and get this book. All right. Once you finish downloading that, go to Amazon and get this book. It didn't start with you. It brings clarity to a lot of things.
I think what people really need to take from this is that we've been taught to push and suppress our feelings when something or someone has been taken away from us. Be it a job, a friend, a position, or a human being, or an animal. We have to relearn how to process it, create better coping skills, and go on. Now, does the grieving stop? No. No. The hurt feelings, don't stop, but yet you have to develop things in you, to coping skills to go through it.
And she's correct. She's correct. One of the things that has to happen, I mean, it's inevitable that we do this, is define what grief means to you.
Yeah.
What is grief?
Right.
What is grief?
And not what you saw, not what
No.
you heard.
No.
When you lost something or someone,
What happened?
what happened
How'd you
to
feel?
you? How do you feel?
Why did you feel like that?
Right. Get to the root of
Why
your
did you feel?
behaviors.
What made you
Yeah.
feel like that?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And why did you feel that way?
And then once you come to terms with those, I guess, emotions or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, have I been taught to feel like that?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
Is that something that was passed down to me?
Yeah. And is it comfortable?
And try to remember how your parents dealt with grief, or whoever was your guardian. How did they deal with grief? If you can remember that far back. If you can't, once you come to terms with what grief means, how you're dealing with it, now you ask yourself, is this productive? Is this a productive way of dealing with this?
Right. Your friend said something.
Winnie says, this is every Thursday at 8 p.m., Winnie?
No.
Tiz says, why does grieving varies? Meaning loss is loss, just emotions aren't identical. Grieving, this is powerful, Tiz, because you deep like this, you're gonna love this. Grieving is like your fingerprints.
Yeah.
No two are identical.
Right.
My wife and I was in the same household. We lost a son. The common denominator was our son. The difference is we were raised totally different.
Right.
We were raised totally different. So environmentally, grieving is going to be different. That's just one area.
And then I think another way of looking at it is that I was the seed carrier. He was part of me.
This is another way of looking at it.
So a part of me is no longer here. So that's yeah.
Go back and Tiz, go on to the website and pull up that article. The best grief description you will find. And I just
skimmed over it.
I just gave the definition. Hold on, where am I at? I just gave the definition of what grief means in some of their terms, but in between the definitions was descriptions on why they use that terminology to give you the definition of what grief is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so like I say, once my son died, I just wrote I got notes in so many places. You got to take them and put them together, because if you don't, what does your mother say? The fertilization of the seed makes him a part of both of you. You were the nurturer. Yes, Mima. And I'm getting the book because this is part of the ministry. Okay, D, since we're on that, and I'm gonna come back to my point. If you're gonna get that book, get this one too. The Body Keeps Score. Brain, mind, and body and the healing of trauma. How you've been taught to grieve is going to embed itself in your body. So let me get this off of here. Gotta remember how. Comments. I said when you work in the background, you're good. So if you go back to some of our shows, I can't remember how far back this is, but we were talking about the mind. We always talk about the mind, and our scripture is Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the moving mind. Whoever knows, y'all know the rest. Anyway, there's three components to the mind. You got the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. So as we talked about what happens to these young kids based off how the parents are teaching them how to process, it becomes part of the unconscious. What is the unconscious? It's walking is an unconscious thing we do. Breathing is an unconscious thing we do. These are things we don't think twice about. You know what I'm saying? We just do them. Mm-hmm. All right. These methods, or like you just said, these coping skills become part of our unconscious, and we don't think twice about how we process grief. Mm-hmm. So now This is true, Al. I took a mental illness class and they touched on all this. Yeah. She said you failed the Yo, D. Y'all keep thinking it's me. She said you failed the mental illness class, son. I get at her. So what it's funny though. What happens is, and man, there's so many books I could post up here for you guys to read. What happens is the subconscious is the vehicle. So let's talk about when you deposit money in a bank and you go through the drive-thru. They have that chute that takes the money to the teller and she shoots it back. That chute is your subconscious. The teller, let's say, is your conscious and you're the unconscious. So as soon as something happens, the subconscious is like this, waiting for the unconscious to give you a behavior. 9 times out of 10, because I got a 90. I beg the pardon. That's good, D. He said I got a 90. So because we don't run interference into these 3 entities, instantly the subconscious sends something to the conscious and it becomes a behavior. Why? Because we've done it so much. There's an article in I think it's in Psychology Today. It's called The Power to Pause. If y'all can go and pull that up. Say the subconscious goes and gets that behavior from the unconscious and comes and gets to throw it to the conscious. You pause. This is where the higher power comes in. Holy Spirit comes in and gives you another suggestion. I'm talking about it happens immediately. Now back to what Tiz was talking about between animals and humans. You got to make a choice. You got to make a choice. 9 times out of 10, you're going to choose the other thing that you got from your unconscious because you got more practice in doing it.
Right.
But if you just pause, man, when I first, and I still fail. I still fail. But when I first used to do it, I used to break out in cold sweats because I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I still do it. I'm not doing that. I don't sweat no more. So I'm getting better at avoiding, as Dennis said, my convictions. I'm getting better. So anyway, the name of this show was Defining Grief. The articles that we talked about was the best grief definitions. And then the book, Carmen, Are You All Right? No, Miss Nancy, come over here and help her. We're in Richmond. And
I'm fine.
The myths about what grief is. It is really, really important for us to understand that a lot of our grieving has been handed down to us. We've been handed a way to grieve, and we've never gone back into our database to tweak it. We've never gone back in our database to tweak it. And so I'm not saying that what we've been handing is a bad thing, but is it a you thing? Is it a way that you should be grieving? Because until you uncover that way that you should grieve, you're never going to fully process that thing. As I said in one of the earlier segments, we're passageways. Everything in life is designed to go through us, Nothing is supposed to take residence in your body. I'm talking sickness, anything foreign to what God's will for us was or still is not supposed to take residence in your body. But for some reason, we've lost the power or the way to get it to process through. Grief is one of the ways that a physical ailment can sit in your body. And you go to a doctor and they tell you, we don't know what's wrong. It's grief. It's grief. It's an illness that they can't detect. So now that we know we got all this information, it's time for us to get to work. Time for us to get to work. I'm very passionate about grief because I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of death. Denial, anger, depression, accept the 5 stages of grief. Okay, Winnie, I'm glad you said that. I don't even have my book on here. Isn't that a shame?
What's your book right here? What's it up here?
So let me find my book right fast, Winnie.
I thought it's over here.
Where?
Your book.
Where is it?
What was it?
Nah, I'm gonna post it on the thing, cause so they'll know where to get it. Amazon. Give me a second. She's all right, Miss Nancy. But if you want to ride up here, come on up. You probably get here before.
I'm going to bed. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's dust.
I don't know when you'll get here, but I'm gonna post this.
Oh,
Save
God.
image. Save. Hold on, Winnie. I'm coming. Somebody commented. Okay. Hold on, Tiz. Give me 1 second, Tiz. I love when Tiz is on here. Tiz make you think. Is that it? I hope that's it. There it goes. Okay, so Winnie, I wrote a book. I don't know how long ago. Here's the book I wrote. It's called Grief, the Silent Assassin. Let me take your comment down. Like I said, when you in the background, you can write this, you can navigate this stuff. That's not it. Where are you? Oh, you're here. All right. This book right here, Winnie, is available on Amazon. Grief, the Silent Assassin. And it specifically talks about those stages of grief. Those stages of grief. So what you're talking about is absolutely correct. That is in the book. That is in the book. Let me get that down. All right, let's go to Tiz. Tiz says, get my girl some water. There you go. There's the water, Miss Nancy. Tiz says, do you think the subconscious is much more powerful than the conscious mind? I don't think the subconscious is powerful at all, Tiz. I think it's the vehicle. The subconscious goes down into your database to retrieve some of the most asinine behaviors you can think of. You have to control not the subconscious bringing the behavior up. You have to control you from manifesting the behavior. So to me, the conscious is stronger than the subconscious. You just have to stay in aware mode. When I say stay in aware mode, you have to constantly tell yourself or remind yourself what's going on. This thing is it's just like we're conduits. These thoughts are being conveyed. They're being sent up to you. Now it's up to you to make a decision on what you're going to do with it. What you going to do with it? Miss Nancy says that wasn't too long ago. I think it was a year ago, wasn't it, when you wrote the book? I can't remember, Miss Nancy. Tiz says, I say it's the sub that control behavior. Nah, it's you that controls the behavior, Tiz, not the subconscious. It all boils down to you. It all boils down to you. The choice you make once the thought comes in your head. What you going to do? Now, we talked about this on the show. If any of you guys are available on Sundays at 8, we have a show, a podcast called Sunday Night Vibes. Comes on Sundays at 8. And one of the things that we talk about constantly is environment. Our choices or the way that we make choices is 100% environmental. 100% environmental. Tiz talks about controlling your thoughts. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can control your thoughts. I don't know if you can control what comes into your head. But I know you should be able to control how you act once it comes into your head. Is it easy? No. It's not easy. Why? Because our training, I'm going to talk about you and me, Tiz. Our training is revenge. Our training is retaliation. And we've been taught environmental that if we do not retaliate or seek revenge, we're going to get looked at different, especially in the hood that we lived in.
Mm.
Somebody's going to look at us different. So we got to do something. And that has become our mode of operation. And now we're adults, 40, 50, 60 years old, and we have not gone back in there and did anything about that behavioral pattern.
Mm.
And so our struggle is, people say it's our ego. It's not our ego more so than our behavioral patterns. How we've been taught to deal with stuff. My wife hit on it earlier. Our coping skills. Our coping skills are terrible, man. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to we'll die with these coping skills because you ain't gonna disrespect me. Who you talking to? I'm talking to you. Learning a different meaning of disrespect helped me a lot. What was disrespectful to me as a person opposed to how I was taught?
Correct.
You know, once again, unlearning to relearn. Unlearn, that's human imperfections, ego. Yeah. Unlearning to relearn. That's the problem with the young. They don't want to be disrespected. It goes deeper than that, Miss Nancy. That's a whole 14 weeks.
They don't want to be disrespected. The strongest, weakest people.
Yeah, that's a whole 16 weeks.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, Tiz. This is crazy. It all goes back to loss.
It does. It does.
All of it goes back.
Yeah.
When I feel disrespected, it's because I feel like I lost something. What I lose? I lost respect. It's a loss.
Yeah.
So now that, I feel this loss, I got to do something. What do I do? Boom. The unconscious is like this. Okay, sub, you ready? And sends you up a behavior. And now because you're mad, number one, it's very hard for you not to act on that behavior that's been set up. Opposed to you going, I ain't doing that. I'm not. Another one, Tiz, pride. Your pride takes over. But here's the thing about that pride thing, Tiz. This is me. I don't know about nobody else. My pride was contingent on who I was around.
Ooh. Wow.
I'm just keeping it real.
Mm.
Man, even though I may not have said it, hold on, Winnie says something here. Only by his mercy, his mercury, were we able to get out and grow.
Why you had to say it like that? You knew what he meant.
Hey, Winnie. What kind of mercury? I'm gonna be serious. She meant mercy. She corrected it. I'm just joking. But yeah, it's once again, you weren't on earlier in the show when we talked about a high power. We talked about the fact that it is important that you believe in a high power in order for any of this thing to work.
What is bothering you?
I mean, it's dusty over here. Yeah, because we got the windows shut. If I crack the window, you'd probably be better. Crack the window.
No, I'm cold already.
Take my jacket. All right. So yes, this show or the next 3 shows, well, we had one last week, is dealing with grief. Shout out to my man D. Morrison for asking me to actually come on and talk about it. Because this is a never-ending subject. I think the stat was 75 to 85%, regardless of how many books or seminars or whatever is done to help this thing, it's not openly talked about. Nobody openly talks about it because, I don't know, maybe they think grief is a private thing.
It's that retarded kid they kept in the back. That's the uncle who was touching all the girls in the family and nobody said nothing about it. I don't know culturally. Can you say it's just cultural? Or we were taught
I think with
that
us
those things that what goes on in the house stays in the house. So, and when it comes to death, and that we weren't taught to express how we feel.
That's where it boils down to.
Yeah, we were never really taught to express how we feel.
I think that's what it boils down to. And once again, I think it goes way back to when we were kids, and some of the things that we were told.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we were told, and these things became our processing skills. This is how we process things. You know what I'm saying? And if you look back over your life and be honest, like 100% honest, you'll see that there's some ways that we handle things that's pretty screwed up.
Yeah.
Pretty screwed up because, I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to make decisions that's going to benefit everybody. Not just me. I don't want to be the only beneficiary of a decision I made because that's selfish.
Right.
Everybody needs the benefit. And sometimes when you know better, you do better. And sometimes I might not feel like I benefited. This is where Holy Spirit comes into play. Real talk. This is as real as it gets. The way things work out, if I do what I've been told to do, might make me feel like I was not a recipient of the good part of it, not realizing that decision could have been lineage or orchestrated.
Right.
We look at we're such a microwave society that we look at things with an immediate response, like, man, I didn't benefit from that, not realizing that Holy Spirit could have made a decision that was for my grandkids' kids.
Yes.
And it's extremely important that we start looking at things from that viewpoint so that we're not always the ones that we think should benefit.
Right.
It feels, don't get it twisted now.
Oh, yes.
It feels great to be the benefactor of everything good. But the word tells us he's working it together for the good. He's working it. It's working. So so this good that we're talking about is legacy.
Yeah.
Definitely is. It's lineage.
Yeah. So if it takes that we have to burden or have some hardships, all right.
I read
to know that our grandchildren are gonna reap from this.
You know what I'm saying? There's a saying I read many, many years ago. It says you should be infatuated with planting seeds under trees you'll never sit under. What Tiz say? I like Tiz. Well, Miss Nancy says life is always a continuum of. That is true, Miss Nancy. And Tiz says shed it. The difference from how you learned it and how it was conveyed to you as a child. All right, Tiz, you got to come back and straighten that out. Keisha, call him. Tell him straighten that one out.
You were hysterical.
I'm trying to figure out what the first part of it is trying to say. I was always in my own learning a day at a time. I'm slowly moving out my way. Learned it as an adult. What is the difference from how you learned it and how it was conveyed to you as a child? Okay, so I figured it out to how I raised my children. I can't use that formula on my 17-year-old grandson. Correct. I tell my wife all the time, Tiz, I don't remember a lot about being a kid. This is gonna crack you up. Should I share this?
Well,
so I found out, and Dee can attest to this, that there was a lot of craziness going on in the P's when I was a kid.
Oh, you're funny.
A lot of craziness going on in the P's as I was a kid, right? And I'm talking about molestation. There was a lot of craziness going on in the P's, Tiz. And so because I can't remember a whole lot, I called my sister up, right? And I said, Tippy, was I touched as a kid? And she was like, no, get out of here. And I said, because I can't remember a whole lot as a child. Did I block it out? Yeah, did I block it out because something happened to me? And she said, no. And so I can't really tell you, Tiz, as a kid, what was conveyed to me, because I've always been this dude that read everything. I read everything as a kid. So my way of dealing with things or looking at things was always different. Like I always had this, man, if you seen my grandson, he would be a perfect way of me telling you how I process things as a kid. Like it just wasn't normal for me. Like people would do stuff and I'd be like, why are they doing that? What are they doing? I never was one, and I probably have a problem with that now, to accept what was normal. I never accepted what was normal. And so as I got older, it wasn't hard for me to adjust. You know what I'm saying? Especially when I gave my life to Christ. It wasn't hard at all because I'd never been one to conform to normal. Like, why are they doing that? What are they doing that for? You know, some of the stuff people do now, I'm like, that don't make no sense. So in answer to your question, what is the difference from how you learn? I can't put the two side by side to tell you if there was a difference. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know if how I learned earlier was a way that pushed me into learning more now. I don't know. I don't know if there was a difference. I don't know. Okay. Keisha's laughing. So Tiz says, how do you know that you were being detoured? You just may have gotten the roots. I never said I was being detoured, Tiz. If I did, come back and remind me. Come back and remind me. I just, you know, I do a lot of journaling. I do a tremendous amount of journaling. And because I was a screwed up kid. Just leave it like that. And when I say I was a screwed up kid, it was because some of the choices I made. And some of the people I was around was really some dangerous people. And I never realized that. I never realized that some of the stuff that we did was not what we should have done, because it was a I like the word you used earlier, a misinterpreted form of respect. Here goes CB, my brother. He said, you did get molested by Ray Ellis and Luke. Those are Jehovah's Witness friends. We were raised as Jehovah's Witness. So anyway, some of the things we did, man, you know, it was just a misinterpreted way that we were respected. It was through violence. We got respected through violence. And so this became our mode of operation. This became how we dealt with things. And now that I'm older and I write down a lot of stuff, I'm quite sure you, in your reflection, to have things to think about. My brother, Dennis, anybody who's from the projects have these things to reflect on. And one of the things that we need to really take into consideration is we all have PTSD, you know, and that hides our grief, because you'll never get diagnosed as having that because they won't consider where we were raised as a war environment. And you got to understand, I mean, like you said, I could go with you, Tiz, D. Morrison, and CB. He was gladiators out there, son. He was gladiators out there. You couldn't tell me at 21 years old that I would be here at 62 talking to you like this with Christ full in my heart. You couldn't tell me that. I never thought I would make it. And sometimes I sit back and wonder, why did he choose me to make it? I even said that to CB about 2 or 3 weeks ago. He goes, it's your fault I turned out this way, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. You dig? I love my big bro. Yeah, I made a pathway for that dude. But now that we're older and we have time to reflect, like I said earlier, sometimes it fills me with remorse, so I'm overwhelmed. Like, man, I actually did that? But there's a God, man. There's a God out here that is so forgiving that will you know, I'm telling you, man, now it's time for me to learn to forgive myself. That's where I'm at, learning to forgive myself. So my co-host has opted out. She said she only gets paid for an hour. So I think she's coming back. Yeah, she says she only get paid for an hour. That's what it is to his purpose. Yeah, and Miss Nancy says in order to have a testimony, you have to have a test. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know what I did with the banner on the bottom, but it should have never stopped.
You stopped it.
GrievingRecoveryMethod.com is the website. The article that we used today was the best grief description you will find. The ebook is posted again. We got 4 comments here. We're going to keep going until we. Then it says, he chose us because we were dedicated to sin. So now we are dedicated to God. Okay. Tiz says, feel better, miss.
I'm feeling better.
All right.
I don't know what got caught in my nose.
She smoked weed, Tiz.
Really?
We are survivors of a disease, the project mentality. We're going to touch on that in a minute, Winnie. Carmen Myers, are you okay? That's CB. Good night. Hold on, Miss Nancy, we ain't done yet. We're going to deal with this. We're survivors of a disease, the project mentality. All right. This is some history for y'all. So, if you ever do the history on Fort Greene Projects, Fort Greene Projects is built on top of a military burial ground. At the very top of the monument, at the very top of the stairs is a monument where the colonels, or I don't know, the bigger higher ups were buried. But PS 67 was a military prison. Whoever knows about World War II, that's why they built the shipyard. The original intent of Fort Greene Projects was housing for the people who were building ships for World War II. If I'm wrong, somebody can come on and correct me. But I've done a lot of research on this. Okay. The projects was a burial ground prior to a project being put on it. Now you got to remember, back then, they didn't do all the stuff they do now, dig stuff up and all this. So you got to remember that these were military prisoners from different countries. And they carry crazy spirits. Crazy spirits. Okay. Winnie, you didn't live a life like we did, so I'm kind of grateful you did. But I don't care where I went in this world. There's not one project like Fort Greene Projects. Not one. And it's primarily because of what it's built on top of. What it's built on top of. These spirits are still floating around in that projects. So it's not a project mentality. It's not a project mentality. Once again, it's what was given to us. You understand what I'm saying? Our parents or the grandparents, I don't know if you remember this, but you know how all the old ladies would sit on the bench and they would say, oh, I'm praying for you. But had they known that that project was built on top of that burial ground, they would have been able to pray for them spirits and we might have turned out a whole lot better. I'm trying to tell you, Cons. This is my theory. Let me change that.
Say, because there's some people who really turned out well, who grew up in that project.
Because you weren't part of the environment. You were part of the project. You grew up in the project, but your parents kept you out of the environment. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that you weren't privy to it because you came outside and you were part of it. But you had...
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about there's some successful, well-off people who've gone on and done great things who came from that same project.
I think you missed what I was saying.
Okay.
I think you missed what I was saying. What I was saying is I'm missing a lot of these comments. Says you okay? Good night. Thank you. CB said it's not a disease. It was a way of life, which we call survival. Tiz says they were housing. That's right, Tiz. I stand corrected. You all right, Winnie? You don't stand corrected. Like the poltergeist, Chucky, you funny. That's why we have everything in one place. That's correct, Tiz. Everything's in one place because of what it was built for. But nobody ever takes into consideration what it was built on. That is true. There was a war that happened, but forever the burial, that was a battleground. All the blood, that's what it is, D. That's what it is. So the spirit of murder was heavy on Fort Greene projects. Heavy.
I get it.
Not only was it heavy on Fort Greene projects, we took that spirit out. I don't care where you went. If you said Fort Greene projects, dude, it rang bells. Carmen, you could be in another state, and people know Fort Greene projects. And I don't think it was done because of just the reputation that developed from us. The spirits floated out. And so, and once again, this is all theory. This is all theory. Because our parents were not trained in spiritual warfare, they did not know that this is what they should have been praying for.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they prayed for us the best of their ability.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What they can physically see.
The best of their ability.
Right.
And so, this is me. This is just all alology here. That's what's missing now in the P's. The grandmother sitting on the bench. You understand what I'm saying? They weren't just sitting on the bench chilling.
People reverencing.
They were praying, man. Yeah. And now grandmama 31 years old. Talking about she getting lit. And once again, we're back to loss. We've lost our grandmothers. We've lost the elders from the. We've lost all that. And it's created more loss. And with all this loss, we have a generation of people grieving that don't even know they're grieving. Then it says there was a book on all of this, and it is now the Museum of Natural History. CB says, everywhere I've been and go Fort Greene, I'm trying to tell you, see? There is thank God for mine. Tears. Your people's was the main one, son. I'm trying to tell you, Miss Howard, Miss Enid, what? Those was my peeps, son. Daphne and all them. Man, I strongly believe that it was the elders in that projects that kept that place civil. There was just some things that you just didn't do if you seen Miss So-and-so. Or, oh man, that's so-and-so over there. You can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You would even put your bed down. And people say, oh, the young kids, they've lost respect. Let's deal with that. It's 9:58. I got 2 minutes. Let's deal with that. In the 80s, every hood got flooded with crack. Every hood. And so what happened was the older generation started getting high. The younger generation didn't get high because they was getting paid off it. The older generation get high. So the level of respect got diminished when you got people who once were respected now out there begging for crack. And it's never, ever gotten back to where it was. Never got back.
It's just they smoking with their kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I never done anything to anyone in the hood. Minus one. Tiz, I can't make that claim. So when the respect got breached in the crack era, now the young kids became the authoritative figures.
Right.
And the adults became the underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It became a money thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It became like, okay, this nigga get money, boom. And so they became the authoritative figures in the households. The young people. And the lines of respect never got back. Never got back. And so it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'll say this until I die, it's going to take divine intervention. Talking about the crack, The breach of respect, loss. More loss. More loss and more loss. All right, y'all. It's 10 o'clock, man. We're going to get up out of here, man. I enjoyed you guys. We're coming back on next week. This was Defining Grief. What does it mean to you? Anything that goes on in our lives, 9 times out of 10, it goes back to loss. It goes back to loss, man. If you can, journal. I mean, if you got to use your phone, chronicle what's going on in your day, because it's extremely important that you have a log about you. Nobody else should have to tell you anything about yourself. You should know, I need some help in that area. And if you get you accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, Holy Spirit will more than happy tell you you're wrong. All right? God bless, man. And you guys enjoy the rest of your week, which is only one day. So enjoy your weekend. All right. Once again, grievingrecoverymethod.com. Get a chance, go on there and check them out. All right. Peace.